Yes! Finally, I have an excuse to talk about the big red dog himself. Oh, yeah, I guess that would be who you'd think of. That is technically his title, isn't it? But that's not who I meant. We're talking about Mephisto, baby! Admittedly, it was just a name drop, which is why I don't feel the need to put it behind a spoiler warning, but we do have solid confirmation thanks to Agatha all along that the Master of Malice actually exists in the MCU. But Mephisto's a busy devil with a lot of enemies in comics history, so rather than focus on any specific storyline, I'm just gonna go with some fun facts. Although now that I think about it, one of these might be a little bit relevant, thematically at least, to Agatha all along, so I'll still caution some spoilers from here on. Let's get started. I said we're doing fun facts, not infuriating facts. We all know editorial used Mephisto as a self-insert to retcon Spider-Man's marriage out of existence in the late 2000s. And anyone who didn't know that knows it now, because I just said it. So let's move along, thank you. Anyways, first fun fact, despite what Mephisto's appearance would have you believe, he's not, in fact, Marvel's Satan. Nor is he the ruler of hell. At least, not the actual one. In the Marvel Universe, the throne of Satan has sat empty for quite some time, and although many demons would love to claim it for themselves, they all know that any attempt to do so would earn the wrath of every other demon. That hasn't stopped most of them from presenting their own personal hell dimensions as a genuine article, though, for branding purposes if nothing else. Oh, and you remember Everett Ross, T'Challa's friend in the United States government? Mephisto once gave him a pair of pants, free of charge. Ross is a lot more of a bumbling nitwit in the comics, it has to be said. Mephisto then made a deal for T'Challa's soul in exchange for taking away the power that he'd already given to Reverend Achebe, but Mephisto renounced the claim on T'Challa's soul when it turned out his was linked to the soul of every past Black Panther, whose collective power would have been enough to destroy him altogether. Yeah, Mephisto can be kind of a loser in the comics. Once he tried to acquire the soul of Sigurd, an ancient Asgardian hero, through tricking him into signing a magical contract, but he was easily thwarted by Loki swapping the contract while he wasn't looking. Another time he made a deal with Thanos for a cosmic cube, which he then immediately tried to use to destroy Thanos, only for it to turn out that Mephisto had never specified the cosmic cube needed to be a working one, so the one he received was useless. Still, he is capable of some truly heinous acts, and circling back to that first thing, he's also partly responsible for the creation of Spider-Man's archenemy, or one of them at least, the Green Goblin. As was recently revealed, Mephisto approached a financially floundering Norman Osborn and offered to turn his fortunes around. Not, as you might expect, in exchange for his soul, but for his son Harry's. And since Norman has pretty much always been a terrible father, he agreed. Ironically enough, making Oscorp successful turned Norman into exactly the kind of obsessive, controlling, paranoid freak who would end up becoming the Green Goblin in the first place. It also resulted in Harry's soul going to Mephisto Hell when he died, and somehow that let Mephisto work through or with a combined AI copy of Norman and Harry's minds to resurrect and stabilize the degenerating Stacy twins who were engineered from Norman and Gwen Stacy's DNA and through Mysterio trickery believed to be the result of an affair between Norman and Gwen before she died. And I'm only just realizing maybe I shouldn't have brought this up at all because this is less of a fun fact and more of a horrifically overcomplicated retcon designed to undo a bad story decision from the mid-2000s. But, well, if anything, this is probably the most relevant bit in here since it involves selling a kid's soul to Mephisto. Realistically, none of this is going to be all that relevant for Agatha all along, though. Honestly, I doubt Mephisto is even going to make an in-person appearance. But there are rumblings that he may be the Hood's patron in the upcoming Ironheart series. For whatever that's worth, MCU Mephisto rumors have been a thing for the last 3.5 years easy. Still, knowing that he at least exists brings us one step closer to seeing Marvel's not-quite-Satan emerge in all of his somewhat unsuccessful glory.